All right, well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and we are here to check out the 2019/2020. This is really a 2019 Porsche Cayenne base. So, who do we have to thank for this little opportunity? It is none other than European Performance and Cary, Raleigh, North Carolina. So, if you're interested in Porsche, well, this is pretty much like a Porsche specialized dealership. So if you're interested in purchasing this vehicle or any other Porsche or other products that they have here, you are more than welcome to do so with the warranty. But since this thing is brand new, almost with only about 7,000 miles, that should not really be an issue. So you're more than welcome to talk to Ryan, and you may even get a little discount as well if you mention Exhaust Sports Auto. I don't get anything out of it, just if you're interested. All right, most importantly, let's talk about this vehicle because 2019, I know I'm 2 years late to the party, but you know, better late than never, right? 2019, big year for the Cayenne. This thing just got redesigned actually. So before we get to the exterior and to the driving aspects, I'm going to first talk about some technical details because that's what primarily changed with this thing. The looks did change, but just subtle things like the headlights, taillights, things of that nature. The main thing happens in the guts of this thing, the chassis, all that good stuff. So let's talk about it. Okay, I'm doing this part separate because it's important and I don't want to miss anything. So everything happens with the guts. So let's talk about it. It's got a new front axle system on it. It's all aluminum up front. This new all-aluminum front axle system has actually shed about 120 pounds from the front end of this vehicle over the previous generation. And what this has done is it has increased steering precision, straight line driving, and it also reduces vibrations, which I'll talk about on the drive. Now, another thing, this is really all new for Porsche, and it's like one of the more groundbreaking things that they've come up with, Porsche Surface Coated Brakes, or PSCB. Now, what this is a tungsten carbide coating, which is on the rotors, and there's also new specifically developed brake pads for the system as well. So what does this do? Well, it replaces the conventional cast iron brakes, and it produces way less brake dust. That's the main thing. And actually, the more you brake, the more of a mirror-like finish that it begins to produce. So that's pretty crazy. So it actually cleans it off a little bit. And yes, of course, it has improved the braking function as well. So that's pretty great. Now, you can only get this braking system on vehicles with either the 20, 21, or 22-inch wheels. And yes, this thing, you can option this thing up with like 22-inch dubs if you want to. This particular model I'm testing has 21s on it. Now, these brakes come as standard on the turbo, so there is that. And you can still get those ridiculous carbon ceramic brakes if you want to, but this PSCB seems really cool. I'm actually not entirely sure if this model I tested has it. I'm pretty sure it doesn't, but it's kind of hard to tell these things since I don't have the actual like window sticker on me. Now, the new Cayenne does get new wheels, of course, and actually, most importantly, like I'm testing a base model here, but even the base models, they come equipped with 19s as standard. That's the smallest size wheel you can get as opposed to the previous generation where they only got 18. So there is that. Now let's talk about the rear of this vehicle a little bit. It still utilizes a multi-link suspension, and it's kind of using a multi-link up front now. Like I mentioned, it's got a new all aluminum front construction going on. They've kind of ditched the old double wishbone so in favor of a more multi-link design, and the multi-link continues in the rear, and they are made from lightweight steel links as well as steel springs. Now, that's what comes as standard. There is a new rear wheel steering module that they've come up with for this new generation, so they had to make room for that, but also there's a new 3-chamber air suspension which they came up with for this new generation as well. If you do decide to opt for this 3-chamber air suspension, then you will actually get forged aluminum rear links actually for the suspension, so there is that. Now, that air suspension that was newly developed for this new Cayenne, well, it has done a lot of things here. So it's increased the off-road capabilities by increasing the ground clearance if that's what you choose, but it's also improved the comfort and the dynamics, of course, so that's another thing. That's if you option for that. And something for you glass freaks out there, this vehicle now utilizes heat insulating glass as standard, and that means that you don't have to use air conditioning as much. And this is true, and I got my LC tinted, I don't use the air conditioning as much, so that's great. Now, this is what Porsche is claiming to be an option, that there is a thermally and noise insulated laminated glass. So I'm not really sure if that's truly an option or if that's just a part of it, I don't know. And this will reflect the infrared radiation. So there's almost 100% of harmful UV rays being blocked in this vehicle. So that's really going to, improve the health of the occupants, I suppose. And the new laminated glass does reduce noise from the outside. So again, more refinement, all that good stuff. But this is impressive. I mean, this car with some tint, that's going to be nice. That's going to be a well-protected vehicle. So that's great. Keeps out the heat. It'll also kind of maintain the quality of the interior. So I like to see that. Now there's a lot more I can talk about with the new Cayenne, but I'll just end off with this. The lightweight construction. So overall the vehicle has shed 300 pounds from the body shell with the previous generation Cayenne. However, it's really only lost about 120 pounds because obviously this is a new generation. It's got all kinds of more safety regulations, all that stuff that it has to deal with. So it's obviously a much safer car than it used to be, and there's also more standard features as well. So really this weight savings is about 120 pounds, but hey, at least the weight has gone down and not up, so there's that. Now, as we're about to see in this drive, this Cayenne is literally the most refined Cayenne ever made, and I don't really think, it still handles great, don't get me wrong, but this is the smoothest Cayenne ever made, and I really appreciate that. So with that, let's go ahead and let's get into the drive, shall we? So this thing weighs about 4,300 to 4,700 pounds. This being a base model is a little bit closer to that 4,300 pound mark. So with that, let's go ahead and let's get this out on the road finally. And obviously we'll talk about the exterior looks here a little bit. Yeah, it utilizes new headlamps and tail lamps, of course, kind of match the Panamera, all that good stuff. So there's that. Instead of the base wheels being 18 inches, they upgraded that to 19 inches. Obviously, this one is optioned up with the 21-inch wheels. However, this is still a base model. But yeah, overall, I like the shape of it. It's a nice, sleek look to it. Honestly, it's one of the better looking SUVs in my opinion. I mean, I kind of like it more than the other vehicles. It has a more exotic look to it. But leave your thoughts below in the comment section what you think of the way that this vehicle looks. All right, let's go ahead. Let's talk about this drive finally. Because this thing also utilizes a new engine for the base model. It's a turbo engine. It's a 3-liter V6 with a hot V turbo setup. This thing produces about 335 horsepower, about 332 pounds-feet of torque. And even if you got the S model, it does produce about 434 horsepower, but it's a twin turbo V6 now, so you don't get a V8 in the S model. So honestly, I think this is more than enough passing power for most people. There is some lag with the transmission. It's an 8-speed transmission, Tiptronic ZF essentially. It's a fine transmission, but it's not the same as a PDK, of course. Yeah, those changes that they made to the front of the vehicle, utilizing a more aluminum setup in the front, they've also said that it's helped with the stability of this car. This thing does feel extremely stable. It is far smoother than the previous Cayenne for sure. That's not even remotely a debative topic. This vehicle definitely has more of a naturally aspirated feeling to the motor, so I do like that. That's definitely a plus point for me with this motor. But in fact, I actually even like the regular V6 in the 2016 base Cayenne. I thought that pulled just fine. That VR6 motor, if you remember that thing. This thing, even with the 21-inch wheels, is riding pretty good. But I'll test more of that in a bit, as well as the handling. But yeah, anyway, stopping power, very good, of course. Does a pretty good job downshifting. Effortless thrust for the street driving. Honestly, I wouldn't even go with the S model of this version. I mean, unless you're an animal, maybe go ahead and get the turbo version, which is obviously the most powerful version of this car, but it's so much money, right? I mean, these things are already a lot of money. I mean, costing well over 65 grand. Starting price is about 67 grand. Obviously, this has a bit more options in it. You can check out their website to see kind of what it has, or even call them. But yeah, honestly, like if I was in the market for a Cayenne, even a used one, I would just get the base model. I liked how the previous generation vehicles felt as well. And also this one, it's pulling just fine. Stopping power is great. They made some nice little enhancements to it. It looks fantastic, very sleek. So I do like a lot of the things that they're doing here. The sky really is the limit with these cars. The more money you want to blow, the more things you get. I mean, you can really option these things up with the interior, with features. This one has cooled seats, of course, but the wheels, all that good stuff. This one, 21-inch wheels. They do look very nice. They don't even look that big. But another change that they made is the tire width. So not only are these 21s, but it's got 285 wide tires in the front and 315s in the back. That's pretty insane tires right there. And obviously it's going to cost a lot to replace these bad boys as well. So, obviously you can't get the 19s. That is the base option. Obviously it's going to ride a little bit better as well. I'm really liking driving this thing. It's a tad bit longer than the older Cayenne, but honestly they haven't really screwed with the proportions all that much. It's making a few little squeaky noises when I come off the brakes, but it's nothing too ridiculous, I guess. Holding onto those little gears there, I see. It's not even in the sport mode. Obviously you can put it in the sport mode. I really like these paddle shifters. Yeah, I really like the sensation and feeling of these paddle shifters, far superior to like the Audis, which just use like a plastic paddle shifter. This one feels much more premium, nice little soft clicks to it, so I do like that. We are about to check out the handling here in a little bit just to see what kind of differences that they've truly made here compared to the old Cayenne, which I personally thought was the best handling SUV I have ever driven. So I'm about to see what this thing can do. Definitely a few little squeaks. I am surprised to hear that with how wide these tires are. I mean, it does grip, it does handle pretty well. Surprisingly, I don't think it really handles that much better than the previous Cayenne, actually. I mean, you heard that. It was pretty squeaky right there, and obviously these are new tires, and very wide ones at that, and obviously with all the suspension tweaks and everything that they've done to this thing, I'm surprised it squeaked that much. There's still some roll with this car. Honestly, I think I was really more impressed with the handling dynamic of the previous Cayenne, if I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, obviously, I do appreciate the smoothness and the refinement. I would still probably take this over a previous generation Cayenne if I could, if the budget allowed, simply because of obviously the features, but also the smoothness of it, the refinement. The ride quality is a little bit more smoothened out, and this is the largest wheels I've ever experienced on a Cayenne, so that's pretty much saying a lot right there. See, put this in the manual mode, give it a nice little launch when I can get the chance. So I do like the steering wheel. I like gripping onto this thing. Again, the steering feels a little bit lighter as well, which I do like. It's an easy car to whip, easy car to place on the road, and you still have that SUV sensation. This really is an SUV. I mean, it can off-road. This thing can tow 7,700 pounds. I mean, this ain't no Tahoe, but I mean, that's pretty legitimate performance right there, and I appreciate that. It really is a great little daily driver. You can get through every type of inclement weather. I mean, this can be like that one fun, prestigious vehicle that you own, and it kind of does it all. I mean, it drives fine, it's comfortable. Kind of a delayed start there. It will hang on to those gears, so I do like that. It will not auto upshift for you, so that's a great thing. So if you want to have true manual control over this thing, you really can, so that's great. Yeah, this 8-speed, it might not shift as dynamic and as crisp as a PDK like that dual clutch does, but you can't deny it. This thing is still great for everyday driving. I would still, like I mentioned, and like I claimed before, the base Cayennes are probably the best value for the prestige, and still for the looks, actually. So this is still a great choice, and the fact that this thing is riding this good with 21-inch wheels, that's fantastic. I really appreciate that. This thing is tracking nice and smooth. It really is. I mean, like, there is a certain level of stability and control that is superior to the older vehicle, although I don't think that this handles as well as they claim over the previous generation Porsche Cayenne. I still like driving this thing. It's still satisfactory. Have they taken some of the charm, some of the characteristic from the old version? They kind of have, like I mentioned with the drive, and some of those vibrations and those mechanical things that were happening with that car, that did add to the characteristic of the Cayenne as a whole. But I still maintain that this is a great vehicle, that anybody could buy this, anybody will be satisfied owning this. So, and if you are an owner, please do let me know your thoughts. Great braking performance. It really does mask those sensations from you, like when you floor it, and then when you get on the brakes, like you can be hard on the brakes, it does not translate to the cabin. So those chassis improvements, it has definitely worked in those refinement areas. Maybe not so much as dynamically, but definitely from a refinement standpoint. Like, you're not going to ever bother the occupants. And look at that. See, like, it's still got a great control for an SUV. This definitely outdoes some sports sedans even. It's very impressive what they've been able to do here. Cabin space, tremendous. I like the simplicity of it. It's not overly designed or overstated or anything like that. It's got a nice clean look to it. It feels of quality, and this is going to age well, so that's pretty good because everything is so well and tightly put together, so I do like that. Now, here's the 800-pound elephant in the room here. What is the center stack doing here? And some of these are gloss black bits. Well, that's the thing. We're in it's 2019, 2020 now, right? Everybody's got to be the cool kid on the block, right? So this is how Porsche is trying to be cool now. Big old slab of piano black plastic with these kind of touch buttons here. Yeah, I really praise the previous generations because they were all physical buttons. This is pretty much that exact same layout, and they did still do some good things here, like separating the climate control like they did in the previous generations. I do still like to see that, but yeah, this is going to make sure you have a nice little microfiber cloth available, because you're going to be wanting to wipe this down constantly. Also, it's going to develop a lot of scratch marks, swirl marks. I can only imagine what this thing is going to be like in 5 years with all this piano black plastic in high traffic areas. It's like they're trying to purposefully piss off car reviewers by putting all this stuff in here. I mean, sure, it looks nice when it's like clean, and when you first buy it, but man, it's not going to age well. So that's the one thing, but obviously the simplicity is still there. The core functions are great. And is this easy to use? Yeah, it is. I mean, you can just press it. It does a slight little vibration for you there. So there's that. This one has the heated and cooled seats. The cooled seats work extremely well, which I really like. And it is for the front two seats here. Like I mentioned, climate control, totally separated. And also this screen is far superior to the previous generation infotainment screen. So I do absolutely love that. Far easier to use. It's actually at the top of the game for me, actually. This is a 12.3 inch screen. It does have Apple CarPlay, no Android Auto, at least not for 2019. Like I meant, the steering wheel is actually pretty much the exact same. It's almost like a carryover from the previous generation car. And I love these paddle shifters, like I already mentioned. It's great. It just feels great in the hand. High quality, love it. You have one-touch auto window switches, which I absolutely love. It's not a double pane glass, but damn, it is a thick piece of glass. It's like a big slab of glass, which I really like. Doors, everything feel like quality. Has a nice tight bankable feel, which I really appreciate. You got the automatic headlights, which is great, and the gauge cluster is also pretty much virtually the exact same as the previous generation car, except instead it's digital instead of being a physical gauge cluster, which whatever, at least they kept the simplicity. It's a physical tachometer in the middle, which is really nice. I do appreciate it. It's nice to configure. It is a crispy screen. Both the screens are nice and crispy, high quality screens, and I really do like that. Seat comfort is sensational. It's a high quality leather for sure. It's more of that stiffer leather, so you know it's going to age extremely well like typical Porsches do. So that's another great thing to see. Nice big panoramic sunroof in this particular model, so there is that. This kind of center armrest is also of quality. When you raise it up, you have some good storage space as well in the door pockets as well. You can definitely put big bottles in there. And the glove box is also a very good size as well. Everything is nice and tight feeling. So again, that quality persists. I just don't like all this piano gloss black plastic crap. But I will say this is a superior setup to the like Panameras and like the new Audi A8s and stuff like that, where it's just two screens for everything. I would much rather prefer this. So I do like this better, and I'm sure in the future models they are going to go to like a two screen thing. It is what it is, but as of right now I can at least deal with it. I can actually live with this. It has physical volume controls, nice clicky buttons here for the accessing the media controls here, so you don't have to use this as a touchscreen if you don't want to. So still some good things here, but this is definitely not the best material choice that they could have done. So there's that. Now talking about the rear seats, they're actually virtually unchanged. I have the same amount of space back there as the previous Cayennes, same level of comfort. You do have climate control back there, so that's nice. Trunk space, tremendous, huge amount of space. Obviously you can fold down the rear seats to get more space if you wanted to. These are not 3-row vehicles, and it's not really necessary. You do have a spare tire back there as well. So a lot of great things that they've done with this Cayenne. It's the smoothest, by far the most refined feeling Cayenne. Despite it losing some of the characteristic of the old ones, I do still maintain that this is a great purchase. It's going to age well. It's going to have great resale value because most Porsches do. So please do let me know your thoughts about this new Cayenne. Is this something that you would consider purchasing? Do you like this new motor? I personally do. It's got plenty of thrust, and it's not even worth upgrading to the S model in my opinion. I'm sure it's some animal, but the price is also in the animal category, so there is that. But again, huge shout out to European Performance for letting me check out a newer Porsche product like this one. Please do check out their website, and you can definitely mention my name to get a discount on any vehicle here on the lot. So with that, thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.